Seamus came running out, climbed up into the blanket and the safety of Fred's arms. Fred put Seamus in the front seat, went to the back of the van and got their lunch. As Fred sat down, Seamus told him that that man saw me, Fred. Don't worry, he thought he was mistaken. I'd said I'd only seen a squirrel. Oh, thank you, Fred. Now here you are. Fred put the large brown paper bag full of fruit and nuts on Seamus's seat. Tuck in. Seamus enjoyed this very much. He was very hungry. When he had had his full of scrumptious fruit, he felt quite weary. He did not want to go to sleep because he didn't want to waste a single minute with Fred. He tried his very best to stay awake. They chatted about music, about Mighty Oak. However, slowly he drifted off and fell fast asleep. Fred gently shook Seamus. Seamus, we're here. Oh, Fred, I'm nervous. Seamus, I must be honest, I'm a little too. You see, this tree is ancient. He is famous. So many wondrous stories about him, wondrous things. So we're both in the same situation. Now, can you climb into the blanket one last time? We have to go via the park. Yes, of course, Fred. Fred? Yes? Do you have to go? Oh, Seamus, I do. I'm sorry. I have to go back to work. I have to open my fish and chip shop. It's a long way, a long drive from here. Seamus smiled. Will you listen to Engelbert Humperdinck on your radio? And think of me? Seamus had tears in his eyes. Yes. Fred, can I call you my friend? Fred turned away from Seamus. He didn't want to see he had the tears. I will be honoured to be called your friend. Seamus climbed into the blanket. Fred wrapped it gently round so his face was just showing so he could breathe. Fred walked along a long, narrow path. As they came out of the path, it led onto a huge park. Fred looked around. There was a magnificent cricket pitch, very well kept. He looked to the left. There was a wooden fence running all the way to the end of the park. It wasn't the first garden, it was the second. Fred heard Seamus gasp. Well, there he is, Seamus. Fred just stood in awe. He had seen oak trees before, but this was different. There in front of him stood Mighty Oak. He felt the energy from him. He approached slowly, just stood in front of the fence. Ah, Fred, my friend. Fred didn't see a mouth, yet he clearly heard his voice. His hair stood up on his arms. It was a warm, deep voice. He couldn't explain the feeling to anyone. The animals understood and children, but Fred did not know any other adult that he knew of Mighty Oak. There was a powerful feeling of love coming from the tree. Hello, sir. He went to raise his cap and then remembered he didn't have it on. How was your journey? No hiccups? Fred thought of the near accident when Seamus laughed, and the elderly gentleman. He looked down at Seamus, who winked at him. Fred said, nothing drastic, it was fine. Fred opened the blanket to reveal Seamus. Boris stared. Wow, another capuchin, just like me. He said, hello. I'm here to help you somehow, Boris. Seamus jumped onto the branches. You're with friends. Jump onto my branches. You're with friends here. Seamus didn't want to leave Fred. He wrapped his tiny arms around Fred's neck. He whispered in Fred's ear. Through tears, he started to sing the monkey song. Here we come, walking down the street. Get the funniest looks from everyone we meet. Fred hugged his little friend. Goodbye, Seamus. Off you go. Fred turned his head to the side, for he had tears. Seamus leapt into the mighty tree's branches. Fred turned to leave. Fred, may I speak with you? Fred was embarrassed. He did not want Mighty Oak to see his tears. You, my friend, are a very special human being. You have a kind soul. To witness magic like you do, to communicate with creatures. I don't think you appreciate how special you are, Fred. Thank you, sir. It was... If you ever need anything again, just ask me. Fred didn't know why, but he reached up and touched a branch. Goodbye, sir. Fred looked up into the branches. There was Seamus, sat next to Boris, tears in his eyes. He waved to Fred. As he walked towards the path out of the park, as Fred reached the entrance, he looked right towards the tree. Seamus was still waving. Fred waved back and then disappeared behind the fence. Boris, I've lived with Jed and Delina for over a year. They are kind to me and I was scared to leave. But I knew I must. Fred has touched my heart. I love him like family. I know I was only with him for about 8 or 9 hours. I'm going to miss him very much. Boris put his arms around him. I understand, Seamus. You feel like that because he is special. He is part of our family. Mighty Oak said, Sorry, boys. Time is of the essence. We have to get to work. First of all, can anyone please get a message to the Major for me? He doesn't have to come today, but resume lessons tomorrow with Boris, and thank him for me. I'll go, sir, said Sam, a blue-tipped. Thank you, Sam. Now, Seamus, have you eaten? Yes, thank you, sir. I had lots of fruit and nuts Fred had for me. Good, we have to start quickly. Now, Seamus, I would like you to learn from Boris all his mannerisms, his habits. Boris said, You want Seamus to pretend to be me. Yes, Boris. Mighty Oak, sorry, and I don't mean this rudely. But Seamus, his accent's really strong. No offence, Seamus. None taken, Boris. Do not fret, boys. It's just for the keepers. We have to fall. Soon as Seamus is in, he can explain our plan to Petra and Coco. Seamus will replace you at the zoo for now. Why can't I just learn from the Major and go back myself? The reason, Boris, you've been gone for 3 days now. We cannot risk your disappearance getting too public. Everyone will be looking for you. It will make our job of keeping you a secret much more difficult. Mark's little friends are bound to tell their parents, not in a malicious way, just because it's exciting, difficult to keep such an exciting secret at that age. If it gets to newspapers, those far-fetched children's stories of a monkey will not seem so far-fetched any more, will they? Oh, they both said in unison. I see what you mean, said Boris. So you see, Seamus, my boy, try your hardest to act like Boris, so human won't suspect. How will I get into the zoo, sir? Well, I've thought about that. I think you can go feeding time the same way Boris escaped. They won't expect anyone breaking in, so it should go relatively easily. Failing that, worst case scenario, if you get caught, they will just think Boris has returned. We will start now. Yes, sir. The 2 captains climbed to the higher branches. Seamus and Boris looked at each other awkwardly. You're taller than me, Seamus, a little. You'll be fine. Hello. The 2 monkeys jumped. Sorry, that came out louder than I meant. Hello, Timmy. This is Seamus. If I'm quiet, may I watch? Mighty Oak said it was all right. Seamus shook Timmy's hand. I don't mind.